Hello, dear friend. I'm glad you decided to join me. I admit, I just told you recently that I don't peek ahead to chapters, and I just did. I peeked ahead. But it's a good thing, because it reminded me that there's a preface at the beginning of my third book that I skipped over, because I skip over the odd thing in my book. But I decided I should throw it in here before we continue. Okay? So here goes. I do not feel the best use of this book is to explain every little detail or event that has transpired over the past 12 years of my life in direct relation to prophecy. And we're beyond 12, but anyways, you get the idea. To do so would be to surrender my private and most sacred moments with the divine for public consumption. And that is not my goal or intention. It's not. Those moments are my own individual journey and unique soul growth, which were certainly required to gain the clarity and strength needed to move forward along my own path and life calling. Yes. It is those inspired moments that I will cherish forever. In keeping some aspects private. And I'm an open book, but I do like to keep some things private. I am granting myself permission to fully honor those events without opening them up to further scrutiny, other than what my own self-doubts and insecurities have already provided along the way. What I will do is provide you with knowledge and various experiences that helped shape my own understanding. Remember, I didn't go looking for guidance through other teachers or books along the way. For the most part, most of my life path has been experiences that I have grappled with understanding what has transpired and then come up with my own understandings for that. Right? Okay. So, what I will do is provide knowledge and various experiences that helped shape my own understandings. It is up to each and every person who courageously, very courageously, moves into my documented accounts to utilize your own inner faith and knowing to apply the teachings within. Okay? Okay. Now, I must also caution you before you proceed. I am giving the entire raw truth about the universe as I know them to be, and laws which govern our reality. I am crumbling past beliefs, identifying true underlying processes, and moving us even further into a new understanding and way of being. Please proceed with an open heart and mind, while also letting go of your need to be right, resentful, or defensive. The truth shall set you free. May you surrender to and fully enjoy your own unique process towards enlightenment. Okay, on that, I'll just be right back. Quick pause. Oh, I skipped over a few paragraphs there, and I had to make sure I didn't feel like I needed to read them. Obviously, I don't, but I always like to double check. Okay, so today we were moving ahead with chapter 54, and it was called Behind the Veil. And I guess my preface was to kind of look at why I went from talking about my life of biblical entanglement and then going back into just delving into life experiences that I've had. And basically it's because I'm here as a messenger of change, more so than toting what my own life has been about, right? So, without further ado, here is my Behind the Veil chapter. Okay, now over the years, my husband and I have become quite the pit crew team on maintaining and fixing an older fleet of vehicles. Now by pit crew, I mean my husband expanded his mechanical repertoire, and I learned how to pass wrenches, hold the energetic space for intuition and ease of workmanship to unfold, which was most certainly needed, by the way. Between our own transportation needs and 2 children in the family, we gathered and worked on quite a few well-loved vehicles over the years. As our fleet grew, so too did the scope of our work. We have replaced brake shoes, fuel lines, axles, steering columns, bearings, suspension springs, driving shafts, timing belts, and even an engine once. You name it, we've overhauled it. Not necessarily because it is something we enjoy doing, but because in the first years of creating a foundation for both our family and my business, in an environment that far exceeded our income levels, finances were certainly scarce. The solution? We learned how to adjust accordingly, taking on all projects, big or small, that could help save a few dollars by the end of the day. One of those projects involved an extensive overhaul for mere weekend mechanics. We were changing a drive shaft in a vehicle that wasn't even our family's, by the way, but just saying. We were changing a drive shaft in a vehicle that had become rusted and seized at pretty much every joint, bolt, and shaft we encountered. The actual process of dismantling the vehicle even started without me that day. By the time I got home, tired and exhausted from a long day at work, I arrived to find an even more tired, worn-out husband who was at his wit's end. He had been working on the vehicle all day, and thankfully he had managed to dismantle a few of the components along the drive shaft, but basically only to the point of no return, with no way to seemingly fix the problem, and yet no way to move the vehicle out of our garage either. Not exactly the position either of us wanted to be in by the end of the day, which was very long and weary. But that was the exact scenario we faced as we buckled down to get to work well into the night. Now, I can certainly pass wrenches and hold parts in place, but essentially, I'm still an energy healer through and through. So somewhere along the way, I have learned the same concepts and ideas that work to shift energy within the human body also exist and apply within all other objects and components in our world. Truth. In fact, it's a truth only witnessed behind the veil. Using my intuition, I could clearly see that the shaft would eventually come free from its stronghold position. However, based on the lack of progress yet to be achieved, the how-to part, a little hazy. 8 hours. 8 hours already into the project, and nothing at that point seemed as feasible as calling in my awareness of interconnectivity and shifting out all negative energy attached to the vehicle. I started with the obvious, my husband's frustrations from the day, and in truth my own, of course, my own, for having to deal with this problem in the first place, never mind so late at night. As I worked within my mind to alter the energy and lighten the mood, I could sense changes coming into play. I've always found that when I start releasing the frustration and anger that comes with any given situation, ideas and insights begin to flow again. I know this because I've watched myself and my family and many others jump right back into action time and time again with newfound determination and a sense of achievability as new ideas begin to surface. In fact, the change in energy that evening was so notable that we both expected a positive outcome. However, despite the new ideas and newfound attitudes that were bubbling to the surface, no notable change in the actual vehicle had arrived as of yet. Now, knowing vehicles are often an extension of the driver's energy, I began a deeper inquiry to the finer details at hand. What was the driver of this vehicle so afraid to let go of? What were their frustrations they felt? Now, as I made this adjustment to the energy and released their worries to the ethers, my husband chimed in to announce the joint had started to move. I absolutely love positive confirmation that our thoughts and intentions affect everything and anything in our reality. Now, another hour went by with no further significant changes, though. Our attitudes had changed, that's for sure. There was notable play in the mechanical parts in question, but no huge momentum was yet to be achieved, with the piece remaining stuck in its original position. That position was quite the tight spot because the shaft had to pull apart in opposing directions and then move down and out of the way to free itself from its current resting place. A feat that seemed almost impossible within the limited space and scope. At this point, I was getting exasperated. I was. My husband was laying under the vehicle, staring up blankly at the task at hand, and I was inwardly crying to my guides for help. Give me an idea or sign to get this going, I screamed within my mind. I mean, seriously, throw me a bone already. To that, I heard very specific yet calming words, which of course any clear guidance always is. It was, Lauren, you are making assumptions as to what is wrong here. Move into the energy without an agenda, so you may clearly see what you have yet to unearth. Now, I'm certainly psychic, and I do have visions all the time, but I am always awestruck by what unfolds when I let go of my own perceptions of the underlying issue and just let the truth move forward. In that moment, the truth happened to be another person altogether that was negatively influencing this vehicle. Someone who spent their entire life being mad and frustrated at the good fortunes of others. Someone who continuously chose to blame everyone else for how their own life played out, instead of taking responsibility for some of their own efforts and life path. Someone who was very stubborn and unwilling to let go of the past. And truthfully, someone who had no idea whatsoever they were influencing a family member's personal possessions merely by their inability to stay focused on their own. Fact. Now, seeing that truth was disturbing, and although I thought perhaps my imagination was getting the best of me, I worked with what I had so clearly seen. I released that person's strong, energetic influence within my mind's eye. I did by sending love and compassion. The key, remember? Love and compassion. I offered forgiveness, as I clearly understood he had no idea what he had been doing with his dark thoughts and intentions. Ultimately, though, I commended him leave and release his energy upon the vehicle. At that very moment, just like a strange image you might see in a Hollywood rendition of a possession finally letting loose, this dark energy came off the vehicle, swirled around my garage, thanked me for helping let go of the past, and then rushed out the door towards the light. I stood there, jaw dropped, having watched the scene unfold. My mind was working overtime on the implications of having witnessed and comprehended a veiled perspective of our reality. I was then jolted back from my inner thoughts by the sound of my husband's voice. "Well, that was weird," he proclaimed, as he remained under the vehicle, looking up into the engine and wheel assembly. Now I questioned him immediately, for perhaps he had seen the dark energy leave the vehicle and garage as well. That was not the case. That was not the case. What he had witnessed was far more profound. In that moment of release, the shaft had finally broken free. Beyond free, actually. It had pulled itself apart from its stronghold position, defied all logic or further mechanical intervention, and simply fell to the floor on its own. Crazy, hey? Mastering your soul works. In my world, we use an acronym quite regularly. YCMTSU. It stands for "You Can't Make This Shit Up." And truly you can't. I've seen a lot of amazing energetic exchanges in my day, but to shift an entire seized vehicle part in a situation that defies both logic or further physical intervention is astronomical. And that is not even getting into the deeper aspect of the projected darkness and why that vehicle was under siege in the first place. Take a moment and really let the reality of what I have just revealed sink in. A vehicle, which at its rawest form is just energy in motion, was being manipulated and influenced by someone's ill will and resentment towards another. Now, I have known people to complain of bad luck or that a hex is working against them, and at first glance, I used to dismiss these claims. I did. Now, the New Age, proactive and easy way to explain this situation is to imply you are just not thinking positively enough. And that you are creating your entire reality on your own. Meaning, you must take all and full responsibility for the manifestations of your entire existence. The passive aspect goes the other direction. It does. The other direction to perhaps imply you have no control over your existence because it is being manipulated by forces far greater than you, or by chance, karma, or just plain bad luck. Yet another aspect often considers misfortune a good thing, here to teach us a life lesson or valuable insight. Not one of these perspectives is accurate. The truest, more exact way to understand our created reality is a balance point somewhere in the middle of these perspectives. Most people view co-creation as a dance between you and the divine. I view life as a dance between you, the divine, and every other person out on the dance floor. Now, as I've explained in my second book, Evolving Your Soul Works, this world is co-created by everyone, based on the collective thoughts and intentions, always. Ultimately, we've agreed to come into this world to learn how to coexist with each other. Which also means we've agreed on some level of understanding to work within the universal law of cause and effect. Our goal then is to learn how to get along and thrive within the scope of that reality. A little letter inserted in here. Dear darkness in myself and all others, I realize I struck a chord with you a few points back. Well, most of them really. But don't worry, someday, we will learn how to manage our emotions of anger and resentment while coming to terms with the fact we are all equal contributors to the collective conscious, always. Not just when we put positive intentions out there, not just when we want to manifest cool and exciting things, always. Eventually, every person on this planet will even learn how to not project built up rage, jealousy, fear, and insecurities towards another living soul. Eventually. Of course, darkness will first have to grow beyond the need to always be the predominant force and in the spotlight. I get it though. Ego needs a spotlight. But may I suggest utilizing the softer, more radiant glow of naturally emanating love and authentic compassion? Energetically, it looks much better on a person, with the extra bonus of being much more effective at creating positive global change. Throwing energetic darts around, yet still insisting we are not all affecting each other and co-creating this reality, really does not work anymore. Actually, it never did. P.S. I've witnessed many 2-year-olds learn how to overcome temper tantrums. So I know we can too. Kindest regards, bringer the truth. Your move. Accept the truth. Our world is made up of an intelligent network of energetic fields interacting with our thoughts and intentions, while continuously changing pathways and outcomes always. Not just when it suits our needs, or when we keep our intentions positive. We as a society cannot decide when we want to accept that we can manifest our reality, and yet conveniently choose to deny this truth when it better suits our logistics. The ultimate truth is always embedded within the energetic fabric of our very existence. Accept the law of cause and effect and work to maintain a higher degree of integrity towards yourself and all others. And all others. Always. Next, peel back the layers. As anyone who does energy work will attest to, there are multiple layers of energy affecting any given situation. I have no idea what that is. But anyways, I meant to say layers of energy affecting any given situation at any given time. Start peeling back and healing those layers one by one to clear the air of all past directives, frustrations, fears, and ill intention. While we enter a new era of time, and we are, it is important to remove all karmic and unsettled energy from the past so that we can finally move forward collectively onto higher ground. Do your part for yourself and your ancestors by taking the time to look behind the veil and heal from what has once been. Holding on to outdated grudges, resentment, or hurtful demeanors serves no one. It is time to let it go. Next, mind your thoughts. There is certainly a difference between addressing emotions as they arise, which I believe is critical, remember, critical in health and wellness for yourself and all others, as we learn to understand our innate reactions and triggers within our own psyche. Right? So there's a big difference between that and sitting on our emotions with thoughts of anger and jealousy while directing ill will towards another. Learn the difference and develop techniques to address your suppressed emotions. Thinking about others is not the problem. Don't worry, that's not the problem. However, projecting negative thoughts or destructive wishes towards another is most certainly a collective detriment and reality we all need to both understand and learn how to surmount. Observe without an agenda. It's tricky, but it can be done. Learn how to let go of your own beliefs, understandings, or interpretations of what is going on behind the veil within any given situation. Instead, learn to access the underlying energy by letting the truth present itself. It's very effective to visualize zooming into a situation like you would a photo on an electronic device. Clear your mind and let the underlying energy present itself. Next, develop fresh eyes. When a seized piece of metal has the capacity to give way on nothing more than an instinctual thought to heal and release what has once been, humanity must begin to look at all other aspects of our world and the problems within it with fresh eyes. on a most basic level of understanding, E equals mc squared, tells us energy and mass are interchangeable. They are interchangeable. If thoughts and intentions can create energetic and physical abnormalities within our world, thoughts and intentions have the capacity to heal and set them back into balance. This elaborate weave of interconnectivity affects all things within our world, including the state of our collective psyche, overall wellness, and the sustainability of our planet. Please understand that even huge weather upheavals or natural disasters in this world are not a result of a weak, frail Mother Earth or a raging God from above. Nope, they're not. Planetary imbalance is caused by the raging emotions, entitled personas, selfish acts, and suppressed energies held within the collective landscape of our shared existence. Fact. Next, find effective solutions. While working to rectify or adapt perspectives needed to facilitate a peaceful existence here on Earth, one must always take the higher road of both compassion and healing. This involves releasing the past, sending love, and moving forward. All anger, resentment, or frustrations regarding injustices or wrongs from our past only adds more of the same energy to the problem. Did you hear that? All anger, resentment, or frustration regarding injustices or wrongs from the past only adds more of the same energy to the problem. We can't stomp our feet, demand retribution, or angrily protest our way into change, even when there are underlying issues needing to be addressed. Instead, we must find and offer viable solutions. We can't expect current and future generations to carry the load for the lack of awareness or mistakes of our ancestors. We can't. Instead, we must release past transgressions, shift the energy, and become more accountable right now. We can't demand compensation for all the times we have been manipulated or under the influence of someone else. We can't, because I guarantee you, nothing in this world is a one-sided energetic exchange. At some point, in some life, at some fork in the road, possibly even just today, you too manipulated or negatively influenced another. Fact. Not to mention, if your energy field had been strong, aware, and conscious of your own soul potential in the first place, the manipulation would never have occurred. Nothing but a unified approach to healing old wounds will ever work. Otherwise, we are still within the duality of us versus them. we are still in the duality of the us versus them mentality that minimizes accountability and amends nothing. The solutions to healing from the past will be to admit where mistakes were made while having compassion for the lack of awareness clearly prevalent. I mean fully and completely forgiving and letting go of the past. Holding on to old baggage or perceived injustices helps no one. Stubborn mindsets of resentment or entitlement only create more seized, unmovable, broken down pieces within a society already in much need of repair. Instead, be a part of the solution by learning how to activate, evolve, and master your own soul works from this moment forward. We can do it. And I will see you there.